the Emerging Brands of Bharat, powered by the Great India Retail Summit 2024, which has sustainability as its core principle.
Products which spoke very Indian and was very proudly Indian, right? But was also modern in a sense.
Is the customer really willing to pay more?
You can't say that because my product is sustainable, I can do away with some core features, understand and accept what the meaning of a brand is. Good professor who used to say strategy is the art of closing doors.
Hello and welcome to ETRetail's exclusive series, the Emerging Brands of Bharat, powered by the Great India Retail Summit 2024. In this series, we are speaking to the next big retail brands of India. And today, we are in conversation with the co-founder of one such brand, which is bridging the gap between Indian handicrafts and modern designs. The brand, which has sustainability as its core principle. Zouk, which started online, has recently opened its first offline store. The company is said to have raised funds from marquee investors and has onboarded Bollywood actress Sara Ali Khan as its brand ambassador. Let's learn more about the brand with the co-founder Pradeep Krishnakumar. Hi Pradeep, thank you for joining us.
Hey, hi Pallavi. Thank you so much for inviting me for this. Very excited to be here.
Pradeep, I want to start the conversation by first getting a bird's eye view of the entire sustainable product market in India. I mean, it does sound fancy, and we do hear a lot of traction happening around in the demand for organic products and vegan products. But how big is the market opportunity, and where does Zouk operate in?
So I think for us, let me sort of walk you through Zouk Journey and then what we think of the broader market. Zouk Journey started where we felt there was a gap in the bags market. In one of our visits to Kutch as part of a course at IIM Ahmedabad, where my co-founder Disha and I, we studied there, we saw that there was clearly a gap for products which spoke very Indian and was very proudly Indian, right? But was also modern in a sensibility, right? But we don't come from manufacturing background. We've never made bags, us or previous generation, etc. In fact, we don't even come from a business background. So really thinking of it like from a first principles point of view, because both of us are engineers as well by background, we realized that a key material was animal-based leather, both in terms of how bags were made and how most brands in India and globally prided themselves on that. We saw how these animal-based leather is made, and we saw some very horrific videos from it, right? And that's when we decided, given both of us truly stand for cruelty-free, we're vegetarians in terms of what we eat from the longest time. So we said that we don't want to put our names to this, and we'll find a more cruelty-free alternative to make our products. Right? So unlike a standard MBA guy or an MBA girl who looks at TAM, SAM, etc., we actually said this is what we stand for as a person, and we will do the same for a brand, because at the end it's our life's work, and we didn't want to put our names to something which is horrific. It started with that. Over a period of time, we have seen a lot of things change. Initially, when we used to post on Instagram about vegan bags, people used to comment saying कि bags भी vegan होता है, क्या बात कर रहे हो? So today, almost a large portion, I think in fact around 30-40% of our customer reviews, when they talk about Zouk, they also say, and the bags are vegan, right? So there's been quite a lot of shift in the past 5 years between what we were doing and where the Indian consumer was and where they are today. Having said that, we still truly believe that you must have a good quality product that stands for both style and functionality in at least the categories we operate in. We operate in bags, wallets, and footwear now. All three are vegan. In fact, we are a PETA approved vegan brand as well. Right? In all of these, you need to give a good quality product at the best price, and all of those don't go away. Right? So our view is consumer might still, like, when I say consumer, there is a good portion of consumers, but if I look at the entire base of India and Bharat put together, right, I think that all of those need to be delivered, and the consciousness towards building a more sustainable brand, building a more cruelty-free and products in terms of consumption is still somewhere in the middle. I think countries like the US, Europe, etc., are a little ahead of the curve in that sense, right? But we believe that India will get there in the next 5 years. Today, it's a good to have. People wear that social badge with pride, but we know that in a category like bags, in a category like footwear, we can actually give them a good quality product without using animal-based products in our entire setup. So that's where roughly the market is, and that's been our sort of learnings from when we started to today.
Wonderful. It's always so inspiring to hear you and Diksha talk about the brand story and why you started, Zouk. I want to build upon the target audience aspect here a bit. Bags, footwear, wallets. These are products which are consumed across all price categories, right? Here the question, whenever we talk about an organic or a sustainable product, it arises that is the customer really willing to pay more? And when a customer comes to buy a Zouk bag, in addition to your bag being vegan and sustainable, what is the next big value offering you are giving and the customer is looking for that sort of helps in a higher conversion rate?
Sure. So I think this is quite standard across any category, I feel, right? So for example, you have, and I may not be the right expert for this, but even if I am buying a car, right, be it a petrol-based, diesel-based, or an electric vehicle, right, I think things like range, things like mileage or a cost per kilometer, things like how many seats are there, are they comfortable, are they modern enough in functionality, etc., are still the basic considerations which remain whether the vehicle is sustainable, non-sustainable, or follows a different methodology of how the car works. The consumer still thinks the same, right? So Pallavi, I think the first point is that as a consumer brand or as a product maker, you can't say that because my product is sustainable, I can do away with some core features that the consumer wants, right? The second is, I think, around just purely price, right? I think at least our thesis is just because the product is organic, you cannot command a premium. Right? The core features of the product itself, be it health, be it sort of fitness, be it in our case functionality, style, have to be superior as well, and that's what you sort of charge for, right? And then I think there is a lot of headroom there, right? And I also feel that, like you said, across price points, it's a band, right? So you can't say that India there are either people buying 400 rupee handbag or 1500 rupee handbag or 10,000 rupee handbag, right? I think there is still a band that exists across these. So this is an average. You could be 100, 200 bucks more, 100, 200 bucks less in all of these, right? And that band might shift a bit more. At 1500, maybe you can go to 1000, you can go to 2000, and then at 10,000, maybe it is a 8,000 to 12,000 sort of bands, right? That exists. And I think as we keep growing in the overall GDP of the nation, I think there are going to be more bands in itself, right? So it will not be a leap from 1500 to 10,000. Truly, that's what sort of we believe. So you could charge a little bit of premium, but not because the product is sort of vegan or organic or whatever. The basic features of what the consumer looks for, you must deliver, right? The other things then are to say that, okay, I will not compromise on quality, which means, for example, my quality checking process is more strict, and that we deliver, and hence we charge a slight bit of premium on that, right? So that's what we believe in, right? Because today's India is aspirational. I mean, some of the things like vegan might have come from outside to India, but some of us, we also are truly value conscious rather than price conscious. Otherwise, Tata Nano would still be the best selling car in India, right? But that's not the case. We truly want good value for money, which means, of course, price is the numerator, but the denominator is features, right? So I think that is how one should look at it in terms of pricing. So in a nutshell, you can't charge a premium just because you're organic. It has to still fulfill the needs of what that category expectation is from a consumer's mind. And then if you do that, then you sure charge a premium for that quality that you're delivering in this case.
that your answer was really bang on. I mean, thanks so much for explaining that with so much of honesty. This brings me to an industry, level question, Pradeep. As someone who operates in the market, you see the entry of new players, established players every day here. Across which price band do you see the demand for a sustainable and organic accessory-based brands more? I mean, currently, do we see it as a more of a metro phenomena, or the penetration beyond tier two is really happening right now, or will it be, will we see it more 5 7 years down the line?
Our view is this, Pallavi, that uh, there is a ton of demand beyond the metros. Right? When we started at Zouk, metros was a large portion of our business. Today, metros and beyond metros, right? I mean, while I remember when we used to learn our history, geography, metros was like 4 cities. Today, metros itself has become metros plus tier one sort of configuration, and we do truly have hundreds of cities. Right? We only realize it when we see sales data to say, oh yes, there is so much demand in so many other cities beyond just the sort of 4 metros. For us today, it is equally split, and non-metros is actually growing much more faster than metros as a business, right? And I think we truly do believe that India is brand starved. India needs more products across categories, not just our categories, right? And as players can deliver that more and more through online or offline, and we get the products there, there is going to be more and more consumption, right? So aspirations are increasing, which means aspiration for branded products is also increasing, right? And traditionally, our entire sort of bags and accessories category has been ruled by unbranded. The shift in GST being a structural reform, plus the shift in aspirations of people, has meant branded share is increasing consistently year on year, right? Which means we need more brands because consumers want more brands, right? And that is what we are seeing growing rapidly for us, and that's what we believe will grow even further from here, right? I think we'll have, if we apply the definition of metros from 10 years back, I think we'll not end up with 4 metros today. I think there are a lot more metros. It might be closer to 2025 is my view, but I am no economist and expert. I think there are far better people to sort of comment on that, but that's what we are seeing as a phenomenon today.
Understood. Pradeep, I want to understand for brands or for people who are looking to foray in this segment, who want to build a sustainable brand going forward. How do you view the situation of entire raw material availability currently? Right? If you can give us a perspective on how Zouk operates in this particular aspect, how much do you import? How much of raw material is available in the country? What challenges exist in terms of sourcing and also in terms of pricing in this aspect?
So I think one thing I would definitely advise anybody starting up or even a large company sort of wanting to pour into this is this: think about why you're doing it, right? It should not be consumer led, and I think it should be more internal led, right? Because the challenges are definitely going to be far higher, right? Both in terms of cost pressure, both in terms of availability, in terms of expertise to work with these. And we've taken our time to figure all of these out, right? In terms of who could be our partners who can consistently deliver what we need in terms of quality, price, and quantity, with in terms of timing of when they give it, etc. So it is a lot more painstaking process, right? Which cannot come from saying कि अच्छा हाँ consumer को तो चाहिए उसीलिए हम कर रहे हैं, right? Because internal teams still do it for internal reasons a lot more, right? Like for example, we had a very busy festive season, right? And very recently we did a Zouk Vegan Creators Day and Awards in association with PETA. I think it was an outstanding event, and both Disha and me were very surprised that the team could pull it together, right? But we could feel it when we went for the event, and when we had lots of people coming in for the event, and all the participants, etc. They were just so happy because overall the mission in the room was for something greater and good, right? It wasn't a commercial event per se, right? And I think that is an important mindset change. Then everything else fits in, right? So I think from an entire supplier base to cost to availability to consistent delivery of quality, etc. It's a lot more painstaking, right? For every maybe 10 to 20 suppliers of regular materials, you might find one, right? And that ratio is very skewed across sort of different types of materials we use. But you know it कि वो 1:3 हो या 1:20 हो या 1:100 हो, the pain is the pain. But as long as you see it as, hey, we want to do this because this is what we believe in, right? I think that is the more important message that I would want to sort of send. So I've seen a lot of brands doing a line or an extension of this or that, right? It seems more like a, oh, इस consumer को भी tap कर लेते हैं, right? In fact, I feel uh, that is actually a lot more brand dilutive than brand additive, because consumer still knows कि अरे आप कल तो आप बोल रहे थे ये animal का ही product है, and today now you're saying something else. Like, what do you really stand for, right? You might as well do one thing consistently well, is at least our belief.
I think that's a very beautiful answer, Pradeep, and again, a very honest one. And Gen Z's emerging as the next big shoppers. For them, these ethos really matter. I mean, all the studies definitely point towards that. This brings me to my final question and the most important one, I believe, the power of storytelling. Zouk has positioned itself in a space where customers really associate with the values that you bring in terms of mentors. You have some of the biggest investors on board, people who have built successful brands. In such an ecosystem, how crucial has been leveraging storytelling for a sustainable brand like yours? And if you can share some key learnings of what has worked for you while communicating with your customer and what has not.
I think two, three things. One is, with Disha and me, again, we were not ad men or ad women before we did this, right? We are all first time entrepreneurs in our journey. And so many people have said this, and you realize it only after, through a sort of matter of time. I think the first one is to really understand and accept what the meaning of a brand is, right? The meaning of a brand is a promise that you give to a customer. So as long as you understand the brand is a promise and not a creative, it's not an Instagram page, it is not a YouTube channel, it is not a website, it's not a store, but it's a promise, right? So I think that is the overarching theme, because it captures everything. It captures the product, of course, it captures who you are, what you do, what you say, etc. Sort of after sales service, everything, right? So I think first is that, just understanding and accepting that brand is a promise to a customer. I think the second is sustainable or non-sustainable. Truly, I feel that storytelling is a key component of building a brand. Right? So there is a difference between a product with a label, and a brand in itself. Right? So just distinguishing between the three is key. But it is that sequence, right? I mean, we've also gone through that journey of saying, hey, this is what our belief system at Zouk is, and that will come across in the product itself. Then it said, okay, the product still needs to, sort of become a brand. That means overarching what we do, what we say has to sort of tie up with what the product says, right? So that is the second journey to be followed. And the third one is truly consistency, right? In fact, I was seeing a podcast where Mr. Harsh Mariwala, talks about how Parachute has been doing the same thing and saying the same thing, and most importantly, standing for the same thing for the last 20, 30 years, if not more, right? So building a brand takes time, and being consistently at it and saying it is a very, very key component of it, right? Because there will come a lot of distractions, there will come a lot of attractions towards something else, that, oh, maybe if we do this as a brand, maybe we quickly capture some more sales here or capture some market there, etc. But it will come out as no, it will not look authentic, it will not look you, and that is a temptation you must say no to. Because one of the things I remember from IIM Ahmedabad is there's a very good professor who used to say strategy is the art of closing doors, right? So it is important to sort of focus and say, this is what I'll do, and most importantly, these are things I will not do, right? And it's true even for the brand, right? Even today we are multiple directions that we could take, but we've taken a certain direction and we've been at it for few years. I think it's a multi-decadal journey, so we have lots of years to sort of build this out further from here. But just being consistently saying the same thing has a lot of value.
Wonderful. I think this was super insightful, Pradeep. And it's always said that knowing what you don't want to do is equally important as knowing what you do. So yes, just being true to yourself is super crucial. And I think that's what's going to build the next set of big brands that we see in India. Thank you so much, Pradeep, for taking out time for this. This was a very heartfelt conversation. Really appreciate you taking out time.
So thank you so much, Pallavi, for inviting me.